Maayong hapon sa inyong tanan. Magandang hapon po. Good afternoon to everybody. So today we're gonna try to answer the question, who is Jesus Christ? And it's such an important question because we call ourselves couples for Christ. So I think, we have to know Christ. But I can promise you that we will have the full answer today. Right? We will have the partial answer. And I will tell you why that we're not going to get the full answer this afternoon, even after this call. But as a summary, we will talk about Jesus Christ as a human and as God. I think we are all familiar with this Catholic doctrine that Jesus Christ is both human and divine. And I will try to share with you some of the things that we believe as Catholics and as couples for Christ. Who is Jesus Christ? Well, apparently, even the disciples themselves actually did not know the actual answer to this question. If you remember in one of the Gospels, Jesus asked this question, who do you say that I am? Now it's such a strange question because usually people will say, for example, if I'm a teacher, I will ask my colleagues and I will say, what do you think of my lesson today? Or I will ask my students, what do you think of this problem that I demonstrated with you? But to ask, who do you say that I am? Is a very strange question, especially the last two words, I am. So when the disciples answered him, they gave different questions, and only one of them said the answer that satisfied Jesus Christ. And I think it was Peter who said, you are the Christ, you are the Son of God. And Jesus said, well, this has been revealed to you by my Father. No human revealed this divine truth to you, he said to Peter. So I'm not here to give my own opinion about the divinity and humanity of Jesus Christ. We will explore some of the things that the apostles said, some of the things that our popes said about Jesus Christ. So this is not just about the opinion of couples for Christ. This is what our Catholic doctrine, our fathers, the fathers of the church, mentioned about Jesus. I think I should wait for this. So my name is Manny, Decena. My wife is Miriam. Where's Sister Miriam? She's there at the back. As Brother Andy mentioned, we became members of CFC in 2015. I have to check my ID. I just saw that it says 2015 here. So it's been 10 years. And during that 10 years, I have experienced, me and my wife Miriam have experienced the most growth spiritually. As a person, as a couple, as a family, as a father. And I think that you too will have the most transformative experience in the next few years after being a member of Couples for Christ. We have 3 children. My eldest has just entered college. She goes to FAU. And, they're there. And then Danielle she's a junior right now. And Emily, my youngest, is a 8th grade? 8th grade, right? 8th grade. So she's going to be high school next year. And this is my household. Let me see. Yes, this is the household, but I think this is my old household. I have new members already, but some of them are still in my household. But we have new household members like the Makit, the Makasling, the Unays, and the Milares. So we're gonna play a little game, two truths and one lie. So I'm gonna show you three things, and we're gonna figure out which one is the false statement. I'm gonna show you these three. Jesus was born in Nazareth, born in a manger, son of a carpenter. Which one is the false statement? The first one? Let's see. Yes, he was born in Nazareth. Where was he born? Bethlehem? Okay. He forgave sins. He never gets angry. He performs miracles. Which one is the false statement? He never gets angry. I do remember him getting angry a few times in the Bible, right? Yes, he does get angry. One time when he was in the temple, I believe is when he got angry about the place being used as a marketplace. Here's another one. He died on the cross. He resurrected after 3 days. He will never come again. This is easy. He will come again. Yes, we don't know when. I hope soon, right? But he will come again. That's the faith of our church. There's another one here. Jesus is the Son of God. Jesus fully God, fully man. And Jesus half God, half man. Another easy question. The false statement is the half God, half man. Jesus is fully God and fully man. Now, there's a lot of things that go over the internet about Jesus. And one of the most ridiculous things that I heard is this. There's this guy who said Jesus is a mythical figure. And he said, and this is like a thesis. You know, he even made an academic thesis out of this. And he said that Jesus is pretty much like Superman or Spider-Man or Iron Man. That people back in those days were having a lot of trouble. You know, they were being oppressed by the Roman Empire. So these early Christians or early first century Jewish believers have come up with a hero, and they came up with Jesus. Well, don't believe these kind of things that you hear from the internet. All right, so we will discuss why Jesus is fully man and fully human. Oh, there's another one here. Jesus is our Savior. Jesus is risen, and Jesus is an ordinary prophet. Well, for some faiths, even in the Philippines, we know this, that they don't consider Jesus as God, that he's just a prophet or some sort of a moral leader or a very influential leader. Well, today we're going to prove that he is more than just a moral leader, a prophet, an influencer. We will prove that he is indeed what he says he is. He is God and man. He is a lunatic. He raised people from the dead, and he performs miracles. Which one is the false statement? He is a lunatic. He is crazy. But by the way, brothers and sisters, can you raise your hand if you are part of the CLP? I just the CLP. Because I don't know. I just want to know up to what row am I talking to. So you guys are CLP too? Okay, up to that row. Okay. Who are the couples for Christ? How do you call them? The incoming couples for Christ. The couples in the back? Okay. Is it whole? You guys are the whole? Okay, thank you. Well, there is this, they call it the trilemma. The trilemma. And there is this, a writer, C.S. Lewis, he's pretty popular, and he has this trilemma. And he said that if Jesus said that he is God, like right now, if I tell you I'm God, it's one of three things. Either I'm a lunatic, I'm crazy, or I'm a narcissistic, self-absorbed person, or I am what I say I am. And in case of Jesus, we know he's not a lunatic. Otherwise, he won't survive 3 years of his ministry. People will just leave him because he will, people are smart enough to recognize if he was crazy or not. If he was a narcissistic, self-absorbed person claiming to be God, then people will also leave his ministry. But because people know that he is what he is, a God, we believe the same thing. And again, later on, I'm gonna share with you some of the proofs, some of the biblical verses that will show this fact. To get involved with someone in a personal way, you have to see and understand his background and time to know where the person is coming from. So this is one of the reasons why I said that we will only have a partial answer to that question: who is Jesus Christ? Because we all know to get to know a person, it takes time. You don't get to know the person on your first date, right? Me and my wife are married for have to get this right. 21 years, yeah, this June. And I'm still getting to know something new about her. Almost every week. Just an hour ago while we were driving, I just learned he hates this beard and mustache. She said she's suffering every day looking at me this way. So I said, okay, when we get home later tonight, I'm gonna let you shave this beard so we can settle this. So the same way with Jesus. I think we know him better as we go through our lives, as we mingle with people of the same faith, and as we look at the Couples for Christ, as we go through the Couples for Christ ministry. You will know about Jesus more as you see our leaders, how they dedicate their lives. I'm always amazed. We always talk about this. I'm always amazed how they find the time, they find the energy, the motivation to do all these things. Like, Brother Justin could be on his couch right now watching TV, watching the game. But he is right here with us, along with Sister Annabelle and all our brothers and sisters holding this seal. So, seeing these people inspire me and just help me know more about Jesus. So I'm gonna go through these slides fast. Who is Jesus Christ? So let's answer this as a human. So Jesus was born in Bethlehem. I think I'm gonna skip that video for now. And he was born of a carpenter parent, and I think Mama Mary was a housewife. And for the first 30 years, we don't really know about him, about his ministry. I think he started when he's 30 years old. So first of all, as a human, what I understand about Jesus is he was a son first. He was a son. That he was helping, the family. Joseph probably got sick later in his life, that he had to be the provider for the family. And he started his ministry at 30 years old. So if you're saying, I'm busy with my because this is how I felt before. I'm busy to be doing Couples for Christ. I have my children growing. It's okay. We are here to help. Actually, this is the perfect time to be a member of Couples for Christ. If you have young children growing up, it's the best time to be in the community. As I said, he grew up as a young carpenter, helping the family, helping bring food to the table. He never left his hometown. He never went very far away from his hometown, within 150 kilometers. In the Gospel today, Samaria, I think it was about 60 miles from his hometown. You know the gospel today about the 10 lepers? It's about 60 miles from his hometown. He did not have a school like Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle. And he did not have a great army like Alexander the Great and all those great armies in our history. And one of the things that's remarkable is that even though he doesn't have an army, he doesn't have a kingdom, he doesn't have an official position, his legacy, his church is still here. Where is Alexander the Great now? I don't know, maybe in a tomb somewhere in Europe. Where is, Genghis Khan? Where is, all these great generals who commanded armies by the thousands, even by the millions? Where are they now? They are in a tomb somewhere, and very few people know about them. But Jesus, a very poor man, a carpenter, 2,000 years after, we're still here, worshiping and talking about Jesus. So, that's pretty much about him as a human. Now, how do we know that he really was a human? Was he really, a real human being? What's the proof for that? How many of you know Lapu-Lapu? Lapu-Lapu? No? No one knows Lapu-Lapu? Lapu-Lapu from the Philippines? No one knows? We know him, right? Especially the Cebuanos. In 1521, Lapu-Lapu, was sort of a dapo in Cebu. And here's this great guy from Europe, a Portuguese explorer, who will be the first person to cross the Pacific Ocean. And then Lapu-Lapu said, you know what, not in my neighborhood. And they had a battle, and Lapu-Lapu defeated Magellan. Magellan's crew eventually crossed the Pacific. They were able to return home and, prove that the globe is a circle. But do you know that the first book written by a Filipino, because the first mentions of Lapu-Lapu was based from European historians, and there were very few of them really. And Jose Rizal said, you know what? They're toning down Lapu-Lapu's legacy to the Filipinos. So he made his own annotations to these writings about Lapu-Lapu. But the first real book, the first real historical article about Lapu-Lapu written by a Filipino was written in 1952 based on oral traditions of the Cebuanos. Imagine that, 430 years. Well, the Gospels and the letters of the apostles were written within 50, 60 years after Jesus Christ died. Not only that, historians from the Roman empires, these are official documents from these government agencies of the Roman Empire. Even Jewish rabbi, imagine Jewish rabbi writing about Jesus. Greek historians all wrote about Jesus. So in the present time, no reputable scientist, no reputable historian would dispute the existence of Jesus or the reality of Jesus being born and being a true human being. Even atheists believe this historical data, these historical facts and documents that there was indeed Jesus who was born in Bethlehem and was able to inspire a lot of people. So there's no question about that. That Jesus was a human who lived among us 2,000 years ago. Now, the more controversial part is Jesus as God. Jesus as God. How do we know that He is really God? Well, our best source will be the Bible itself. So, in the Gospel of John, usually it's the Gospel of John where he more or less mentioned in a sort of in your face that I am God, is when he says these things. For example, if I tell you that I had a picture with this very popular actress from the Philippines. And she is well known to be the superstar. This young, she's not young, but she's a really popular actress, and she's known to be the superstar. Can you tell me who that actress was? Noro, right? Every Filipino age 50 and up will know who that is. There's no question about it. There's no confusion as to who I'm talking about. Well, in the Gospel of John, when Jesus said, I am the good shepherd, to these first century Christians and Jewish people, there was no confusion about who was he talking about. Because in the Old Testament, in the Torah, God said, I am the good shepherd who took you out of Egypt. So it's a very emotional verse for them. Because as slaves of the Egyptian kingdom, God said, I am the good shepherd. So when Jesus is saying the same thing, I am the good shepherd, the first century Christians and the Jewish people in front of him were astounded. It's a very bold claim. There was no confusion about what he said, that he is claiming to be God. Gospel of John. There is another one where Jesus said, I and the Father are one. Another verse in John, he said, truly, truly, I say to you, before Abraham was, I am. That's another very emotionally triggering statement from Jesus. Because for the first century Christians, the Jewish people, they don't say the name of God. Because when Moses asked God, what do I tell the people who you are in front of the burning bush? God said, I am what I am. Something like that. I forgot. But they don't use the name of God. They don't have a name for God. But when Jesus said, I am, before even Abraham was, the people immediately recognized this person is claiming to be God. And in the Gospel of Mark, there was a paralytic who got healed by Jesus, and Jesus said, your sins are forgiven. And again, to the Jewish people, that's blasphemous. One person even said, who is this person who can forgive sins but God alone? And then there's another who's very popular to us Catholics. When the doubting Thomas saw Jesus, the resurrected Jesus, because the first time Jesus came to the apostles, he was there. And I think when the second or third time Jesus came and Thomas was there in their room, Jesus said, I am here. Put your hands on my side, put your finger on my hands. And Thomas said, my Lord and my God. And we know Jesus did not object to that. So the reason why we know Jesus to be God is because he said it himself. And that's the main reason why he was crucified on the cross. He was challenging the Jewish faith, and he paid his life for it. But at this present time, how do we reconcile this with our present time? Yes, we know Jesus said he's God. And by the way, why did not Jesus said, I am God directly? Why not be direct to the point, right? Why is he using these verses, these undertones from the Old Testament? Why not just say, hey everybody, I am God? Why not just say it that way? Well, first of all, he will sound crazy if he said it that way. No one will respect him if he said it that way. Number two, there were so many gods during those times. They believed in Zeus, the king of gods. They believed in Apollo. I think Apollo is the god of what? God of war, god of Poseidon, god of the sea, Athena, god of wisdom. If he says, I am God, he's actually putting himself at the level of those false gods. So he doesn't say it that way. He has to say it in a way that the people will understand from the Old Testament. So, as we saw from the first slide, even with all of these, even with the apostles who lived and died, they saw Jesus on the cross, they saw Jesus when he resurrected. Even after all of that, they were still in doubt of who Jesus really is until the Holy Spirit gave them the inspiration, gave them the courage to become a disciple of Jesus. So, in this present time, I think the real challenge for us is not to know whether Jesus is God or not. The fact that you are here, the fact that you are spending your weekend with us, the fact that you are spending 3 hours of your time with us in order to learn about Jesus and to learn about our faith. There's no doubt in my mind that you already believe that Jesus Christ is God. Why we're here is we want to know how to become a true disciple of Christ, a true disciple of Jesus. That's where the challenge is. It's like when you have a law passed in Congress, it's like the gospel. That's the law. Jesus is God, here are the commandments. And then before they can implement the law, they have what they call the implementing rules and guidelines. Where are we going to get the money? Who's going to, be the implementing people for this law? That's what we're trying to learn right now in Couples for Christ. The rules and guidelines, how to become a true disciple of Christ. And Brother Ferdy will give us the first step towards that goal.
I'm going to go through these very quickly. I already discussed this. So knowing Jesus and become a Christian is an ongoing process. To know Jesus Christ is to live and become His disciples. And I really like one of the slides here. It says, we will know Jesus through the cross. You will not know Jesus from me, from our pastors, from our household leaders. The full revelation of Christ in our lives is by living His cross. And I can attest to this in so many times of my lives where I am down. And I will be quick on one experience. 17 years ago, for teachers, we all know about the J1 visa, right? J1 visa. I had a J1 visa. On the time that I was supposed to transfer my visa from J1 to H1, I submitted my documents, submitted to the Department of State, and then I went back to the Philippines for a vacation. And then I came back only to learn that my H1 visa application was denied. And so my principal said, you have to go. And then immediately on that very same day, I came back to school. They printed out a letter of resignation right on the spot, and they want me to sign it right away. Oh, Mr. Decena, your H1 visa is denied. And you know what? The reason is unbelievably naive of me. It's because I forgot to put the check, the payment for the H1 visa. I mean, how naive is that? You can say how stupid if you want, but I forgot the check, so I was denied. Now I'm being sent home. With my family. And I still have debts to pay in the Philippines. I'm not done paying my debts, and now I'm going back. How embarrassing that would be. And so I prayed, of course, Lord, what am I going to do? I have my child already here. And then I don't know what I thought about it, but the first thing I did was go to the Key West. I'm like, I might be leaving in 2 weeks. I haven't been to Key West yet. Let me bring my family to Key West. And we went to Key West, spent, credit card money. And then you know what, if I go, at least I can say I've been to Key West. So spent money on the credit card. We went to that sunset dining, by the boat. By our last dinner in the U.S. But then God inspired me to look up on the internet. I found some charter school. I applied. And then for some reason they replied and they said, yeah, we want to hire you. Oh, really? We've never hired anyone from the Philippines. We've never heard of H-1 visa, but we're willing to help you. They signed the papers. I got approved. And eventually, that same charter school sponsored my green card. They gave me my green card. And I was the first one to get the green card. There were 18 teachers among us who came to Florida in 2004. I was the first one to get the green card. So, see how God works? That I was at the very bottom of my dreams, but eventually God gave me the green card. So I guess this is very true. We will know Jesus. We will know Him through the trials that we experience in life. We just have to hold on to Him and try our best to keep our hope, to keep our prayers. And there are so many other things, but I'm not going to tell you those. That's probably one of the most memorable for me. The cross is the means by which we can truly know Jesus. When we truly know Jesus, when we take Him as our Lord and God, when we develop a personal relationship with Him, then we become truly Christian. About 2-3 weeks ago, I don't know, maybe it's me experiencing menopause, the men's version. I woke up in the middle of the night, the room was dark, and I'm like, who are you, Jesus? I mean, who are you? And I was like, can you please just show yourself to me even for 1 second, you know? And I shared this with my unit leader when we were having a household meeting. And then when we did the sharing, I realized, oh wow, we had Sister Maritas in there and Brother Jerry. I think we had Brother Rodrigo in there. And through their sharing, I got my answer. I'm like, oh, okay, this is Jesus showing me through these people sharing their lives to us. So sometimes it's about the people who we share our life with, that we will know Jesus through our partner, through our church members, through the couples for Christ. But the answer is an ongoing process, brothers and sisters. We're not going to get the answer right away. It is Jesus that you seek when you dream of happiness. He is waiting for you when nothing else you find satisfies you. He is the beauty to which you are so attracted. It is He who provoked you with that thirst for fullness that will not let you settle for compromise. It is He who urges you to shed the masks of false life. It is He who reads in your heart the most genuine choices, the choices that others try to stifle. According to St. John Paul II. We're almost done, brothers and sisters. What it means to be a Christian. To be a Christian is to have a personal relationship with Jesus. A Christian is a person of faith, hope, and love. The Lord knows those who are His. He is waiting for you to embrace Him with all your heart and for you to be called His an authentic Christian. And there's no better example, brothers and sisters, than the community of couples for Christ. And for that, brothers and sisters, thank you very much for listening, and may God be praised. And for our personal share, may I introduce Sister Darlene Maluoy.
A little too tall.
Good afternoon, brothers and sisters. Are you still awake?
Yes.
All right. So, my name is Sister Darlene, and I was tasked this afternoon to give a sharing on how Jesus has changed my life for the better. I want to begin by saying that I truly believe that God calls us at different times in our life. And there are no coincidences in life. So congratulations for being here, because you said yes. It was God who called you to be here and not whoever really invited you here as a person. I come from a family of 7, and in 1988, my family slowly migrated to the US. First my mom and my 2 older siblings. After a year, my dad and my sister came. And finally, in 1991, when I was just 19, me and my youngest sister were the last batch to move. So unlike most of you who chose to be here, in my case, someone else chose for me to be here. But do you think that that was a coincidence? Or was that God's plan? Let's see. So of course, it was very difficult leaving a place that I loved and I called home. But I was obedient to my parents, who thought that was the best decision for our family. So growing up, my mom would always drag us to church, and so we did. Our dad would tag along. Well, sometimes. Or mostly during holidays, Christmas, Good Friday, Easter Sunday, maybe some birthdays, right? Like most men, right? I immediately adjusted to our new environment here in the US. We've always lived in Florida. And in 1993, I was invited to a weekend retreat. It was called Teens Encounter Christ. It was there that I encountered Jesus in a very special way. I knew He was the only one who could fill that emptiness in my heart. And there was one Bible verse that stuck to me during that retreat. It was in Psalm 46, verse 10. Let's read it together. Be still and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the nations. I will be exalted in the earth. So when I was invited to a Christian Life program, like you are here right now, that was in 1994, I said yes. Again, there was no coincidence that the person whom I was working for at that time, Dr. Duran, was one of the first Couples for Christ members in Florida. Just as you are invited here by someone last week, I don't think there was a coincidence that you are here. And you're back. You're back this week. You are here because it's the right time for you and the right place. Me and my blood sisters joined the Singles for Christ. We joined in the mission to spread the word of God to other areas in Florida and even in the Caribbean. In 1998, I met Jay, whom I have been married now for almost 24 years, and I invited him to join Singles for Christ. I guess he figured he has to say yes if he wants to hang out with me. Eventually, we got married in 2001 and transitioned into Couples for Christ. 4 years after, God blessed us with our only child, Julia, who is now in college. So I want to share 3 personal stories. I will call it encounters with Jesus that has transformed my life. My first story goes back on October 28, 2005. After a very healthy pregnancy and what seemed like a fairly smooth natural delivery, something out of the ordinary happened. I started having severe abdominal pains, worse than contractions. Within a few minutes, we realized that I was profusely bleeding and was rushed to the operating room. The doctors and nurses did what they could to stop the bleeding, but they eventually had to do an emergency hysterectomy as a last resort with the consent of my husband. Can you imagine delivering your baby at 2:28 and waking up at 10:28 in the ICU? with a tube in your mouth. Sorry. It brings back memories. I find out days after that there was only 5% chance of someone going through what I had to survive. I also find out days after that our entire CFC family in Florida and probably all over the US were praying for me. That's the power of prayer. A testament of God's mercy and love. In the midst of that ordeal, Jesus filled me with a sense of peace. Rather than questioning the doctors, I chose to rest in gratitude. I trusted in His divine plan. I recovered very quickly and slowly took over the care of our baby with the help of our family and friends. A great gratitude for the miracle of life. And a month ago, our daughter Julia joined Singles for Christ, the same ministry who helped mold my spiritual life. We have come full circle. Once again, I was reminded that there are no coincidences in God. My second story goes back in March 2008. My then 2.5-year-old daughter was diagnosed with a rare autoimmune kidney disease. Statistics show that this only happens to 2 out of 100,000 kids. 2 out of 100,000 kids. We were horrified, confused, didn't know what to do. She had to be hospitalized for a few days, put on high doses of prednisone, antibiotics, and we were in and out of the hospital, doctor's appointments. She had a kidney biopsy at the age of 3, and along with that came many laboratory visits, hospital visits, you name it. When you go to the lab and the tech knows your name, that's not a good thing. In the midst of that chaos, I'm always reminded of this verse from Psalm 46, verse 10. And we say it again. Be still and know that I am God. I hung on to that promise because I know that with God, nothing is impossible. I just have to trust in Him. This illness became a blessing. It opened our eyes to healthy living. We changed our lifestyle as a family. And today, I am an advocate of health and I encourage people to take charge of their health. We eventually homeschooled Julia, and that was the best decision we ever made. She has grown to be a mature woman. She gives back her talents and gives to God. Again, there was no coincidences with God. And lastly, my third story, I want to share my encounter with Jesus in 2020. That's the picture of my mom. Remember COVID-19? Seemed like the whole world stopped, right? Our dad died in 2018 with colon cancer. Again, in the midst of the chaos and confusion of COVID-19, our mom was diagnosed with a rare form of cancer in May 2020. You see, our parents went back for good to retire in the Philippines in 1996, and they just went back and forth to visit us. The country closed its doors to visitors. None of us 5 children could go home. None of us had our dual citizenship. So imagine the agony in our hearts being so far away from her. By July, our mom's condition was getting worse. But God provided a cousin who is a registered nurse to provide full-time care. Again, God is merciful. It seemed impossible for any of us to go home. We prayed the divine mercy every night. By August, a small light of hope came. I found out that my brother Decena was able to obtain his dual citizenship. He was able to travel to the Philippines to visit his ailing dad. And he was able to come back. He helped guide me what needed to be done. In the first week of September, I was able to obtain my dual citizenship. Then, our hometown closed again. No one is able to come in and out of the city for 30 days. I took my chance. I booked a flight on September 28th. On September 27th, our mom passed away. I flew to Manila, not knowing if I was even going to be able to go to my hometown, which was still another hour away by plane. But God never ceased to surprise me. After 4 flights, 3 COVID tests, 2 days of quarantine, I was finally able to represent my siblings and attend our mom's funeral. The best of all, I was able to come back. After 2 weeks, going through the same process all over again. Once again, God is merciful. God revealed His miracle working power, reminding me that nothing is too difficult for Him. So, there may be moments when you find yourself asking, why is this happening to me? Or where is Jesus when I needed Him the most? Or perhaps your heart quietly wonders, when will this season of suffering finally end? In those moments, remember, God has never left your side and will never leave you. Through every trial, even when you can't feel His presence, remember Psalm 46. Let's read it again. Be still and know that I am God. And listen to the gentle whisper in the quiet places of your heart. Take a deep breath and pray. Jesus, you're all that I have. You're all that I need. My life is in your hands. Again, Jesus,
you're all I have. You're all I need. My life is in your hands.
one more time.
Jesus, you're all I have. You're all I need. My life is in your hands.
And I want to close the sharing with this verse.